Hello, students. Let us start chapter number 12, Atoms. Now, students, about introduction, we know that the first model of atom was proposed by J.J. Thomson in 1898. He gave a model in which he said that the positive charges of the atom are uniformly distributed throughout the volume of an atom, and the negative charged electrons are embedded in it like seeds in a watermelon. Means, students, we know that in a watermelon most of the parts is reddish in color inside the watermelon. So Thomson said that that reddish color part is like positive charge, and the black color parts, that is seeds, they are like electrons. So he gave this type of model. So he gave the name to this model as a watermelon model. Also, this model was also known as plum pudding model. Now, Rutherford, he was the student of J.J. Thomson. He also did many experiments on the basis of scattering of alpha particles by atom. He came to know that the nucleus is at the center of the atom and its size is very small, and electrons, they revolve around the nucleus. These electrons revolve around the nucleus in a similar way as the planets, they revolve around the sun. So Rutherford gave the planetary model of atom. Once again, what he said, Rutherford said that electrons, they revolve around the nucleus in a similar way as planets, they revolve around the sun. So students, whatever the model of atom which we imagine today is given by Rutherford, that is Rutherford's nuclear model, in which nucleus is at the center and electrons, they revolve around the nucleus. Now about alpha particle scattering and Rutherford's nuclear model of atom. Now students, Giger and Marsden, they performed some experiment suggested by Rutherford. Rutherford suggested this to scientists to do the experiments on the alpha scattering. So here a setup of this experiment is shown. You can see here there is a cube made up of lead, and there is a radioactive material inside this cube. The radioactive material or the radioactive source used is bismuth. It is bismuth 83214. 83 is the atomic number of the bismuth and 214 is its atomic mass. So this was the source of alpha particle. Now this source emits alpha particles in all the direction, but due to this lead box, it is a solid lead box with a small cavity inside it where this radioactive material is kept, and there is a pinhole. A very narrow hole is created inside it so that alpha particle will move in a straight line through this hole. Remaining alpha particles, they are absorbed by the lead, and only those alpha particles will come in a straight line which passes through that hole. Now here there is a thin gold foil. The thickness of this gold foil is approximately 2.1 into 10 raised to minus 7 meter. It is very thin. Its thickness is about 1 atomic thickness. Means if we consider the diameter of gold atom, then the thickness of this gold foil is of the order of the diameter of the atom of the gold. Now the alpha particles which strike at the gold foil and then they scatter in different directions. Geiger and Marsden found that most of the alpha particle they penetrate throughout the gold foil, and only few alpha particles they return back. Most of the alpha particles they are scattered and they penetrate the foil. And to observe these alpha particles, there is a screen and there is also a microscope. So when the alpha particles they strike the screen, a scintillation is produced. Scintillation means a bright spot is observed when the alpha particle they strike the screen. The screen is made up of zinc sulfide. This screen is made up of zinc sulfide. So when the alpha particle they strike the screen, a bright spot is observed, and this microscope it can rotate through 360-degree so that whatever the alpha particles they are striking the screen, they can be observed and also can be counted. So with the help of this setup, scattering of alpha particles by different angles can be studied. Now once again you can see here a schematic diagram of scattering of alpha particle, a source, lead bricks. So other alpha particles which are not in a straight line, they are absorbed by this lead brick. Only these alpha particles can come out from this narrow hole and they move in a straight line and they strike this gold foil. Here there is a screen and there is a detector microscope. Screen is made up of zinc sulfide, and so the scintillations are produced. That means a bright spot is produced when the alpha particles strike to the screen, and that can be detected with the help of microscope. So with the help of this experiment, it was found that about 0.14% of the incident alpha particles they scattered by more than 1 degree, and about 1 alpha particle out of 8000 they were deflected by 90 degree. You can see, students, this number: out of 8000 alpha particles which are striking to the gold foil, only 1 alpha particle is deflected by 90 degree, and this is due to the repulsive force experienced by the alpha particle through the nucleus of the gold foil. Here the graph is shown. In this graph you can see, here along the x-axis it is the scattering angle, that is angle of deflection of alpha particle, and here it is number of alpha particles. So you can see, with less angle deflected, the number of alpha particle which are deflected by very less angle, their number is more, and as the degree of deflection increases, the number of alpha particles which are deflected by higher degree, they decrease. So this type of graph was obtained. So from this, Rutherford suggested that the size of the nucleus is quite small compared to the size of the atom, and its size, that is size of nucleus, was estimated to about 10 raised to minus 15 meter to 10 raised to minus 14 meter. Also, the size of the atom was known to be 10 raised to minus 10 meter. So if you compare these two numbers, this is the size of nucleus and this is the size of atom. So compared to the size of atom, nucleus is 10 raised to 5 times smaller than the size of atom. Nucleus is 10 raised to 5 times smaller than that of the atom. Also, alpha particles, they have charge plus 2e, and that of the charge of the gold nucleus is 79e. Second important thing is, gold nucleus is about 50 times heavier than that of the alpha particle, and so here when the alpha particle they approach toward the gold foil, they deflect due to Coulomb's force, Coulomb's repulsive force, because as I said, alpha particle is having positive charge, and this gold foil, the nucleus of gold, is also having a positive charge, and this positive charge is about 79e, and alpha particle, its charge is twice of e. So when this alpha particle approaches towards the gold, what happens? There will be a repulsive force, and due to that repulsive force, it gets deflected from its path. So this Coulomb repulsive force for this alpha particle and gold nucleus is given by F is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught charge of alpha particle into charge of gold nucleus upon distance between them, square of distance between them. So students, this is not new formula. We have already studied in our first chapter that force F is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 upon r square. This is the Coulomb's law. So here q1 is nothing but is charge of alpha particle, q2 is nothing but is charge of gold nucleus, and this r is the distance between the alpha particle and the gold nucleus. So according to this repulsive force formula, the alpha particles, they are scattered. Now about the trajectory of alpha particle. Trajectory means path of alpha particle. So you can see here, this is target nucleus. Target nucleus means it is of a gold nucleus, the nucleus in a gold foil. So when the alpha particles, they are moving exactly towards the gold foil, and it is towards the nucleus of the gold, exactly line to line, and this line to line means it is called head on collision. Means alpha particle, if it is approaching exactly towards the gold nucleus, then angle will be 0 because it is on a same line. In that case, what will happen? This alpha particle will come closer to the nucleus and its kinetic energy will decrease because of repulsive force. So it will come quite close to the nucleus, and then that repulsive force becomes maximum. And so what happens after reaching the closest distance? It will return back. So actually alpha particle was moving toward the gold nucleus, and then after reaching to the closest distance it will return back. So angle of scattering or deflection here will be 180 because it returned back on the same path. So here in this case we can say that the impact parameter is 0. The angle is 0, incident angle is 0, so impact parameter is 0, and so deflection is maximum, and maximum means 180. But if the alpha particle is moving along this line, which is little away from this head to head collision line, then what will happen? Due to repulsion, it will deviate in this way, and so angle of deviation for this will be this much. This will be the angle of deviation. So here, as the impact parameter increases, initially the impact parameter was 0 for the case of head on collision. In that case the deflection was maximum, that is 180. But as the impact parameter increases, the deflection will decrease. You can see now once again, if the impact parameter increased, deflection was decreased. Again the impact parameter increased, impact parameter is value of b. So as the impact parameter increases, you can see the angle of deflection also decreases, and at large distance for these alpha particles, you can see they used to generally move with very little deflection. That means they penetrate the gold foil. So you can see here, when there is a head-on collision, the angle of deflection of alpha particle is pi. Pi means 180. And for a large impact perimeter, the angle is very small. Angle of deflection is very small, that is nearly equal to 0. 0 means they will penetrate the gold foil. So in this way, it was confirmed that the nucleus is the only massive part of a atom. Rest of the atom is hollow. Size of the atom is large, but atom is actually hollow, and the solid part of the atom is nucleus, which is very much small compared to the size of the atom. Now here example number 12.1. Here the comparison is made for the atom and the solar system. That means if we consider an electron revolving around the nucleus, and that the earth revolving around the sun. So we have to compare these two, and we have to show that what is the difference between the orbit of the electron around the nucleus and that of the earth around the sun. Here the radius of the orbit of the earth is given, and that of the radius of the sun is given. Now the ratio of the radius of electron orbit to that of the radius of the nucleus is about 10 raised to 5. This is the radius of the electron orbit, and this is the radius of the nucleus. So their ratio is obtained to be 10 raised to 5. Now if we consider the same ratio for that of the earth orbit, then earth's orbit should be 10 raised to 5 times that of the radius of the sun. So 10 raised to 5 is multiplied to the radius of the sun, and that was obtained to be 7 into 10 raised to 13 meter. You can see here power is 10 raised to 13 meter. And what is the actual radius of the orbit of the earth around the sun? It is of the order of 10 raised to 11. So if we compare these two, here it is 10 raised to 11 and here it is 10 raised to 13. So it is nearly 100 times greater than the actual orbital radius of the earth. So it is clear that for atom, the free space or the empty space is comparatively more compared to that of the solar system. Means if this is the nucleus and if this is an electron revolving around the nucleus, then this empty space is more in this case compared to the sun and the earth around the sun revolving around it. So this empty space is comparatively less. So here simply this radius is compared. So here at last it is written that it implies that an atom contains much greater fraction of empty space than our solar system. Definitely the size of the atom is very much small and the size of the solar system is very much large. But here the empty space is compared. because Rutherford said that the electron revolve around the nucleus in a similar way to that of the planets around the sun. But here the free space is more, 100 times more than that of the solar system. Now, example number 12.2. In Geiger-Marsden experiment, which we have seen earlier, what is the distance of the closest approach to the nucleus of a 7.7 MeV alpha particle? So this is an energy of an alpha particle. Alpha particle which is approaching towards the nucleus of the gold is having energy 7.7 MeV before it comes momentary to the rest. Means situation is like this. Suppose this is a gold foil and this is a nucleus, one of the nucleus. There are many nucleus in a gold foil. So one of the nucleus is here, and if the alpha particle is approaching towards this nucleus, then we know that as it will move closer, its velocity will decrease, and then finally momentary it will stop. Before it reverses, momentary it will stop here before reversing. So we want to find this closest distance of this alpha particle and this gold nucleus. Now students, we know that here the Coulomb's repulsive force acts, and here the energy of the alpha particle is given to us. So when both the energies becomes equal, that is alpha particle, its energy when it is approaching towards the gold nucleus, that energy which is in the form of kinetic energy goes on converting to the potential energy of the system, because we know that as the alpha particle approaches the nucleus of the gold, what happens, its kinetic energy decreases but potential energy increases, and when it reaches the closest distance, then its potential energy will be maximum. And so we can say that the total kinetic energy was converted to the potential energy, and potential energy is given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 upon closest distance d. If it is d square, then we know that it is force, but if it is simply d, then it will be the potential energy U of the system that we have studied in second chapter. This is the formula for the potential energy of the system of two charged particles. Here one charge is the alpha particle and the other is the nucleus of the gold. So this is the formula for the potential energy. And so here this kinetic energy K is equal to the potential energy when it reaches to the closest distance. So you can see 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1, that is charge of alpha particle, q2 charge of the gold, and d is the closest distance. Simplifying this, we will get next step. This is 2 z and E into is E square. 4 pi epsilon naught into d, it is here. We want to find the closest distance, so just make the subject d, bring this d here and k here. That means simply we have to make the subject d in above equation. So we'll get this equation 2z square upon 4 pi epsilon naught k, where this k is the kinetic energy which is given to us. Now students, kinetic energy of the alpha particle is given 7.7 MeV, where m is mega. Mega means 10 raised to 6. So here, as this energy is given in MeV, we need to convert that energy in joule, because whenever we put the values, we know that we have to put the value in SI system, and the unit of energy in SI system is joule. So once again, let me show you. Energy is given 7.7 MeV. 7.7 MeV. So m means 10 raised to 6. And to convert electron volt to joule, we have to multiply 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. So whatever the energy is given in MeV, now this is in terms of joule. M means 10 raised to 6, and to convert electron volt to joule, we have to multiply this 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. So now this becomes in joule. So if you simplify this, you will get this energy MeV in joule as 1.2 into 10 raised to minus 12. Also we know that 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught is nothing but it is 9 into 10 raised to 9. So now just put these values. So now putting these values, you can see here 2 e square, that is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 square, z as it is, then 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught is 9 into 10 raised to 9, and energy, kinetic energy is 1.2 into 10 raised to minus 12 joule. So we have kept all the values other than z. So you'll get value of D in terms of z in meter. Now if the gold foil is used in the experiment, then we'll put z is equal to 79. And so in that case, for gold, this closest distance will be 3 into 10 raised to minus 14 meter, or we can write the same as 30 femtometer. This is called femtometer or Fermi. 1 Fermi is equal to 10 raised to minus 15 meter. Now students, if suppose other foil is used other than gold, then we need to put value of z for that particular element. Now about topic number 12.2.2, electron orbits. Students, we know that around the positive nucleus, electron revolve around it. Now the force acting between this positive charge and the electron is Coulombian force, and that is always attractive. And if electron moves in a circular path, then there requires a necessary centripetal force, because we know that when any particle is moving in a circular path, one more force is acting in the outward direction, known as centrifugal force. So to balance this centrifugal force, the necessary centripetal force is provided by the Coulombian attractive force. And that's why for an electron moving in a circular path, Coulombian force, that is electric force, should be equal to the centripetal force. In other words, we can say that the necessary centripetal force is provided by this Coulombian force or the electric force. Now, we know that centripetal force is given by mv square by r, and Coulombian force is given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 upon r square. Here this e square it is because here q1 and q2 both are e into e, because for a hydrogen atom there is only one proton and only one electron revolves around it, and charge of proton is also e and charge of electron is also e. So q1 into q2 is nothing but is e square. So putting this formulas for Coulombian force and centripetal force, and then just making the subject r, you can see here 1 r will cancel and now 1 r is remained. We have to make this r subject. So when we make this r subject, we will get r is equal to e square upon 4 pi epsilon naught m v square. So here we obtained the formula for the radius of the orbit of an electron around the positively charged nucleus. This is for hydrogen atom. Now students, in this equation, if we make subject v square, then we will get v square is equal to e square upon 4 pi epsilon naught m into r. Now kinetic energy of an electron revolving around this nucleus can be obtained. K is equal to half of mv square. In place of v square, we will put this. So putting this and solving, we will get e square upon 8 pi epsilon naught r. So this is the kinetic energy of an electron revolving around the nucleus in an hydrogen atom. Now about the potential energy, because for an electron revolving around the nucleus, as this electron has the velocity, it has kinetic energy. There is a force of attraction between them, that is between the electron and the proton inside the nucleus. So it has a potential energy also, potential energy of system of two charged particles, which we have studied in second chapter. Now students, it is clear that, remember, if kinetic energy is x, then potential energy will be twice of x, and it is always negative. And total energy E is the summation of kinetic plus potential, and that is equal to same as that of kinetic energy x but negative. So remember this relation. So once again, if the kinetic energy is x, then potential energy will be double of that but negative, and total energy will be that of equal to the kinetic energy but negative. So we will apply this here. Now this is the kinetic energy. So potential energy will be double of this. So if we multiply this kinetic energy by 2, then 2 ones are and 2 fours are 8. So we'll get E square upon 4 pi epsilon naught r, but negative. So we obtained potential energy. Now total energy is summation of kinetic energy and potential energy. So here kinetic energy and plus potential energy. If you will add this and simplify this, you will get this answer. But you can see that this value is equal to that of kinetic energy, but it is negative. So in this way we obtained kinetic energy, potential energy and total energy of an electron in an hydrogen atom. Now example number 12.3. Given that this much energy is required to separate an electron from an hydrogen atom, means if this electron is revolving around the nucleus, then it has this much energy in negative. So if we supply this much positive energy to this electron, then what will happen? This electron will be separated from the nucleus. So it is clear that here total energy of this system of electron and the nucleus will be minus 13.6 electron volt. Now this much energy is there for an electron in an hydrogen atom. It is in electron volt. So from this given data, we need to find the radius as well as the velocity of the electron in an hydrogen atom. Now total energy is given in electron volt. So first we will convert that into joule, and we know that how we have to convert. We need to convert this into joule. Whenever we put the values, it should be in SI system, and that's why we need to convert that into joule. So to convert electron volt to joule, we have to simply multiply the given value by 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. So multiplying this value by 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19, we will get minus 2.2 into 10 raised to minus 18 joule. Now this is the total energy, and we have the formula for total energy. This is the formula for total energy. In this equation, just make subject R. So if we make the subject R, we'll get this equation. R is equal to minus E square upon 8 pi epsilon naught into E. Now all the values are known to us. Just put that values and calculate it. You will get 5.3 into 10 raised to minus 11 meter. Students, remember value of E 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 square. E in joule is minus 2.2 into 10 raised to minus 18, and we know that 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught is nothing but it is 9 into 10 raised to 9, but here there is 8, so multiply by 2. So this value is this and 2 is here. So in this way we put the values and then calculate to get 5.3 into 10 raised to minus 11 meter. Now we want to find the velocity also. Mass of the electron is 9.1 into 10 raised to minus 31 kg. So remember this value for the electron, and we have the formula for R. It is this. So in this, simply make the subject V square. R is already obtained. So making this subject and calculating, we'll get the velocity. First we'll get the square of the velocity, then we have to take the square root. There is one more method. We have the total energy. Whatever the total energy is given, the same will be kinetic energy, as I said earlier. So we have the kinetic energy, which is equal to the total energy only, but positive. Mass of the electron is known to us. Simply make the subject V square and calculate by putting the other values, and then take the square root. You will get the value of V. So in this way we can get velocity of electron revolving around the nucleus as 2.2 into 10 raised to 6 meter per second. So students, I hope you understood about this example as well as the topics which we have studied today. If you have any doubt, you can ask me.